The historical role of silver in civilization. For most of human history, societies depended on physical materials to measure value. Today, people often think of digital numbers in a bank account or the paper bills in their wallet. But the deeper story of money goes far beyond the modern world. Historians note that for thousands of years, the metal that shaped markets, connected empires, and kept trade operating was silver. This metal played a central role in daily life, long before paper currencies, central banks, or electronic transactions existed. Archaeological records show that as early as 3000 BC in Mesopotamia, societies were developing systems to track grain, land, and labor. Clay tablets from Sumer refer to specific weights of silver as a standard reference for value. This does not mean that everyone carried silver coins in their pockets. Coins were invented later, but silver served as a measurement tool that allowed merchants, farmers, and rulers to agree on prices and contracts. It acted as a foundation that kept early economies organized. Historians explain that silver had several characteristics that made it useful for ancient commerce. It could be divided into smaller amounts without losing integrity. It was resistant to corrosion. It was rare enough to be valuable, but not so rare that it was inaccessible. When comparing metals across the periodic table, experts note that silver naturally falls into a middle zone. Gold is too scarce to support common trade, while copper is too abundant. Silver provided a workable balance between scarcity and practicality. Because of these properties, silver eventually became a medium of exchange used across continents. Ancient Greece, Rome, Persia, China, and Central American civilizations all used silver in their monetary systems. The consistency is notable. These societies did not communicate with one another in the way modern countries do, yet many of them independently reached similar conclusions about silver's usefulness. Gold also played an important role in ancient economies, but its function was different. Many historians describe gold as a metal associated with wealth storage, political power, and long-term savings. Gold coins or bars were often kept by aristocrats, monarchs, and temples. They were used to store value over long periods or settle large transactions, such as paying armies or financing alliances. Silver, on the other hand, circulated among ordinary people. Soldiers received wages in silver. Merchants settled trade in silver. Households used silver to pay taxes or purchase food, clothing, and tools. In this sense, gold and silver were not competing metals. They served complementary roles. Gold could represent the upper layers of wealth, while silver supported the economic activity that made daily life possible. One of the most interesting historical patterns connected to silver is the long-term exchange rate between silver and gold. Over thousands of years across multiple civilizations, the ratio often stabilized near a range that would later be identified as roughly 15:1. Historians and geologists point out that this ratio closely reflected natural geological occurrences. In many historical mining sites, for every ounce of gold discovered, approximately 15 ounces of silver were recovered. This ratio was not fixed by law in most early societies. Instead, it appears to have emerged naturally through trade and mining patterns. This consistency provided a kind of global understanding of value. A merchant traveling from Europe to Asia could often rely on similar relative values between the two metals. This allowed long-distance commerce to flourish. Silver functioned as a kind of international language. It made pricing and trade more predictable, even when cultures and currencies differed. The Roman Empire is one of the most well-documented examples of how silver supported a major civilization. When Rome expanded its territories and built its administrative system, it relied on a silver-based coin called the denarius. Under Emperor Augustus, who ruled from 27 BC to 14 AD, the denarius contained a high level of silver purity. Archaeologists estimate the purity during this period to be around 95 to 98%. The stability of this coin helped Rome manage its vast economy, pay its soldiers, and maintain trade routes across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Many scholars believe that Rome's military strength and infrastructure were supported by this monetary stability. When soldiers trusted that their pay held consistent purchasing power, they remained loyal and capable of supplying themselves. Merchants were willing to transport food, clothing, and tools to military regions because they knew the denarius retained value. This interdependence between coinage and operations helped sustain the empire's stability for generations. Over the next several centuries, however, Rome experienced economic challenges. Rising military expenses, administrative costs, and political instability placed strain on the treasury. Some emperors responded by reducing the silver content in the denarius while maintaining the same face value. This process, known as debasement, allowed them to mint more coins from the same amount of silver. Historians caution that the reasons behind debasement were complex. It was not a single decision or a sudden event. Several emperors made gradual reductions, often to pay for military campaigns or manage budget shortfalls. Nero, ruling from 54 to 68 AD, made one of the earliest documented reductions, lowering the silver purity slightly. Later emperors made additional reductions until by the 3rd century, the silver content was significantly lower than before. Many scholars consider this gradual process to have contributed to inflation, reduced public trust in currency, and created long-term strain within the Roman economy. Soldiers demanded higher pay to compensate for reduced purchasing power. Merchants demanded more coins for the same goods. While multiple factors contributed to Rome's eventual decline, the debasement of silver coinage is frequently noted as one of several economic pressures that weakened the empire's stability. A different but equally instructive example comes from China during the Qing dynasty. In the 18th and early 19th centuries, China was one of the largest and most prosperous economies in the world. Its global influence grew through exports of tea, porcelain, silk, and other goods. European powers relied heavily on Chinese products, and silver became the primary method of payment for these goods. As a result, large amounts of silver flowed into China during this period. For many years, this inflow strengthened the Chinese economy. Silver helped support tax collection, commerce, and the monetary system. Taxes were often paid in silver, while everyday transactions among peasants were conducted in copper-based currency. This created a dual system that worked effectively as long as the silver supply remained stable. During the 19th century, however, historical economic records show that silver began flowing out of China due to trade imbalances, particularly driven by opium imports. This shift created stress within the monetary system. As silver became scarcer, its purchasing power in China increased relative to copper. This made taxes more burdensome for common people because taxes were fixed in silver, not copper. Some historians argue that this imbalance contributed to economic hardship among the lower classes, which in turn influenced social unrest. Events such as the First Opium War and later internal uprisings reflected broader instability, with changes in the monetary system being one contributing factor among many. Although the situations in Rome and Qing China were very different, both examples show how changes in the supply, availability, or purity of silver affected entire economies. They also show that monetary systems can be deeply connected to political stability. When a society's medium of exchange becomes unreliable, scarce, or inconsistent, economic stress often follows. Another major historical case involving silver was the Spanish Empire during the 16th and 17th centuries. After Spain colonized large parts of the Americas, it gained access to massive silver deposits, including the rich mines of Potosi in present-day Bolivia. Silver extracted from these mines transformed global trade. European merchants used Spanish silver coins, sometimes called pieces of 8, in commercial exchanges across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. These coins became one of the earliest forms of globalized currency. While this influx of silver strengthened Spain for a time, historians note that the situation also had unintended consequences. Because silver became abundant, Spain relied heavily on imports rather than building its own manufacturing industries. Instead of producing goods domestically, Spain purchased many items from other European nations using American silver. Over time, this created economic dependence. When silver production later declined, Spain lacked the industrial base to sustain itself, contributing to long-term financial instability. These historical examples demonstrate the complex role silver has played in shaping civilizations. In some periods, silver supported economic expansion, trade, and stability. In other periods, shortages, imbalances, or overdependence on silver created challenges. The common thread is that silver acted as a backbone for many economic systems across history. Fast forward to the modern world. Today's global economy functions very differently from ancient or early industrial systems. Modern currencies are not backed by gold or silver. They operate on legal frameworks, central banking policies, and international financial networks. However, silver still maintains roles in industry, technology, and investment. It appears in electronics, medical equipment, renewable energy applications, and various manufacturing processes. Because of these diverse uses, analysts observe ongoing conversations about how silver supply and demand interact with modern industry. Some researchers track mining output, industrial consumption, and investment patterns. Their interpretations vary, and economists emphasize that modern markets are influenced by many factors beyond metal supplies alone. Silver's place in human history is substantial, and it remains an area of interest for scholars, economists, and industry experts. Understanding the past helps provide context for how societies valued stability, trust, trade, and monetary structure. While modern economic systems differ from those of ancient civilizations, the long relationship between silver and global development offers valuable insight into how materials, resources, and human decisions shape the world. Silver, economic systems, and the development of modern money. As the world entered the late 18th and 19th centuries, the nature of money began to change in ways that would define the modern era. Large empires were expanding trade routes, new technologies were reshaping production, and governments were experimenting with different monetary frameworks. During this period, silver continued to play an important role in many regions, but the groundwork for new systems was forming. These developments gradually shifted global finance away from ancient monetary structures and toward the systems we recognize today. To understand this transition, historians often focus on how nations balanced silver and gold within their monetary policies. For centuries, many countries operated under systems that used both metals. These were called bimetallic standards. Under such systems, both gold and silver coins could serve as legal tender for payments. Governments defined an exchange rate between the two metals, often based on prevailing market conditions or international patterns. While these systems helped stabilize commerce in some cases, they also presented challenges when the market values of silver and gold fluctuated. In the early years of the United States, policymakers debated how to structure the country's money. The Coinage Act of 1792 established a bimetallic standard in the young nation. Silver dollars and gold coins were both legal tender, with an official exchange rate set by Congress. This system aimed to make money accessible to citizens of different economic backgrounds. Silver was used more commonly in daily transactions, while gold was used for larger payments or savings. This mirrored the historical use of both metals in Europe and Asia. However, the fixed exchange rate between silver and gold sometimes diverged from real market conditions. When this happened, one metal might become more valuable than the other if melted down. This created incentives for people to remove the undervalued metal from circulation. Economists refer to this pattern through a principle known as Gresham's law, which states that when two forms of money circulate at a fixed rate, the money that is overvalued tends to stay in circulation while the undervalued money disappears. This challenge affected many nations that attempted to maintain bimetallic standards. As the 19th century progressed, major technological changes increased global trade and mining activity. New silver discoveries in North America, South America, and Australia increased the amount of silver entering global markets. As silver supplies grew, market prices adjusted. Nations that relied heavily on silver had to adapt to these changes. Some adopted new monetary policies, while others faced economic disruptions. One of the major turning points in monetary history occurred when several countries began adopting gold-based systems. Britain formally moved to a gold standard in 1821. This choice influenced many other nations, especially those engaged in international trade with Britain. Over time, more countries shifted toward systems where gold served as the primary anchor for currency values. The rise of the gold standard created standardized exchange rates between major economies and helped facilitate international trade in the late 19th century. The transition toward gold had different consequences around the world. Some nations experienced greater monetary stability, while others faced reduced flexibility. Silver-producing regions sometimes encountered economic pressure when global silver prices declined relative to gold. Debates over how to manage silver became a major political issue, especially in countries where farmers, miners, or working-class communities relied on access to silver-based money. In the United States, these debates intensified during the mid to late 19th century. Currency policy became a central topic in national politics, influencing elections, legislation, and public discourse. Some groups supported maintaining or expanding the role of silver in the monetary system, often arguing that it would make credit more accessible and support economic growth in rural regions. Others supported adopting a gold-focused system, believing that it would bring greater financial stability and international credibility. In 1873, the United States enacted the Coinage Act, a piece of legislation that revised the country's coinage structure. This law standardized several coin designs and modernized the minting process. One of its consequences was the end of free silver coinage at the National Mint, meaning that individuals could no longer bring silver bullion to the mint and have it struck into standard silver dollars. While the law had multiple goals, its impact on silver currency became a point of significant public debate. The change occurred during a period when global silver production was rising and silver prices were declining. As a result, some groups, particularly in agricultural regions, argued that the new policy limited access to an important form of money. Over time, the event became known in political history as part of a broader disagreement about monetary policy. Some writers later referred to this period as the Silver Question, reflecting the ongoing public discussions about the role of silver in the economy. Economic historians emphasize that these debates were complex. They involved disagreements about how much money should circulate, how to support economic growth, and how to maintain long-term stability. Advocates on all sides presented arguments shaped by their experiences and needs. Urban industrial regions tended to favor tighter monetary policies, while rural and mining regions often preferred more flexible systems. The diversity of viewpoints across the country reflected the differences in each region's economic structure. By the late 19th century, many major nations had transitioned to gold-based systems. This created a global financial environment where the value of national currencies was linked to fixed amounts of gold. International trade and investment increased as exchange rates remained relatively stable. This period, sometimes called the Classical Gold Standard Era, lasted until the early 20th century. During this time, silver continued to play important roles in many countries, especially in regions where silver-based currencies were already established. China, for example, remained on a silver-based system well into the 20th century. Latin American countries also used silver in varying degrees. Even in nations on the gold standard, silver coins circulated for everyday use. Although gold dominated large financial transactions, silver remained intertwined with ordinary commerce. As the 20th century unfolded, global events placed new pressures on monetary systems. Wars, industrialization, and geopolitical shifts forced nations to reconsider how they structured their economies. The First World War disrupted the gold standard as governments suspended gold convertibility to finance their war efforts. After the war, several nations attempted to return to gold, but economic strains made it difficult to maintain fixed exchange rates. By the time of the Great Depression in the 1930s, many countries faced severe economic challenges. Falling prices, declining employment, and financial instability forced governments to rethink their monetary policies. Several nations moved away from strict adherence to gold-based systems. This allowed them to adjust their money supplies in response to economic conditions. As countries adopted more flexible monetary policies, the role of metals and national currencies shifted again. The development of modern financial institutions further transformed global money. Central banks gained greater influence over monetary policy through tools such as interest rates, reserve requirements, and open market operations. The creation of international financial organizations after the Second World War, such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, established new frameworks for cooperation among countries. By the mid-20th century, most countries no longer used silver or gold as the direct basis for daily currency. Instead, their money derived value from legal frameworks, government backing, economic productivity, and public trust. Silver moved into new roles within industry and manufacturing. Although silver's monetary role changed, its importance did not disappear. Silver's physical properties made it valuable in new ways. Its conductivity made it essential in electrical applications. Its antibacterial characteristics supported medical uses. Its reflectivity and malleability allowed it to be used in specialized technologies. These new roles integrated silver into emerging industries that did not exist in earlier centuries. As technology advanced, silver became increasingly important in electronics. It appeared in circuit boards, smartphones, communication devices, and industrial equipment. It supported the development of solar panels, medical instruments, and various digital technologies. These uses expanded the metal's relevance beyond its historical roles in currency and ornamentation. Today, analysts monitor trends in both silver supply and demand. They track mining output, recycling activity, and industrial usage. Some industries require consistent access to silver due to its unique physical properties. These industries study the long-term availability of the metal to plan for future production needs. Economists note that modern silver markets are shaped by global industry, investment trends, and technological development. Silver recycling also plays an important role. Unlike ancient times, when much silver remained in circulation for centuries, modern products often contain silver in small, dispersed quantities. This makes recycling more complicated in some sectors. However, recycling helps recover silver from electronic waste, industrial materials, and other sources. As technology evolves, researchers study new methods to improve recovery rates and reduce material loss. Understanding this modern context requires recognizing how different the present is from earlier periods of history. Ancient and early modern civilizations relied on silver as a core element of their monetary systems. In contrast, today's global economy uses digital and paper currencies supported by international institutions and central banking policies. Silver now functions primarily as an industrial material, an investment asset, or a component in specialized technologies. Despite these changes, interest in silver remains strong. Historians continue to analyze how silver shaped past civilizations. Economists study how natural resources influence national development. Industry experts assess how materials like silver affect technology and production. These different perspectives contribute to a broader understanding of how silver fits into the story of global economic evolution. By examining silver's journey from ancient trade networks to modern technology, researchers gain insight into how societies adapt to changing economic realities. Silver's role has shifted, but its significance remains woven into the development of commerce, technology, and human progress. The modern industrial age and silver's expanding role as the 20th century advanced, the world underwent rapid technological change. Nations industrialized, urban populations expanded, and new inventions reshaped communication, transportation, and daily life. During this transition, silver evolved from a monetary metal into a vital industrial material. Its unique properties made it indispensable in technologies that would define the modern age, from photography and electronics to renewable energy and medical applications. To understand silver's place in the contemporary world, it is important to explore how industries adapted the metal to new uses and how these developments influenced global demand. One of the earliest modern industries that relied heavily on silver was photography. Beginning in the late 19th century, photographic film used silver halide crystals to capture images. When exposed to light, these crystals changed chemically, allowing pictures to be developed. Throughout much of the 20th century, photography required significant amounts of silver. Millions of rolls of film, prints, and newspaper images depended on silver-based processes. This created a steady and substantial industrial demand. Even though digital photography eventually reduced this demand, the historical influence of the photography industry demonstrated how technological innovation could reshape silver's role in society. Alongside photography, the rise of electrical technologies increased silver consumption in a different way. Silver is one of the most electrically conductive elements known. It allows electricity to flow quickly and efficiently, making it valuable in circuits, switches, and contacts. As telephones, radios, and household appliances became more common, manufacturers incorporated silver components to improve performance and reliability. The spread of electrification across homes and industries in the 20th century further increased the need for materials that could tolerate frequent use and deliver consistent electrical conductivity. Electronics soon transformed from a luxury to a necessity. As computers emerged in the mid-20th century, silver played important roles in connectors, printed circuit boards, and specialized components. Over the decades, as technology became more compact and powerful, silver continued to appear in small but essential amounts. Today, almost every electronic device contains some silver, including smartphones, computers, televisions, and communication equipment. The quantities in each device may be small, but global production of these items results in significant cumulative usage. The expansion of global manufacturing during the 20th century strengthened this trend. Factories produced goods on an unprecedented scale, often requiring metals with specific physical properties to meet industrial standards. Silver offered conductivity, reflectivity, and durability that few other materials could match. Its use spread into automotive systems, electrical contacts, and industrial machinery. Manufacturers relied on these properties to create safe and reliable products for consumers. Another major development in silver's modern journey involved its medical applications. Researchers discovered that silver has antimicrobial properties. It can inhibit the growth of bacteria when used in certain forms. This characteristic led to its inclusion in medical tools, wound dressings, and surgical equipment. Silver coatings and compounds supported cleanliness and reduced infection risks, particularly in hospital environments. These uses expanded steadily as medical science advanced. Water purification systems also adopted silver-based technology. Some filtration processes used small amounts of silver to reduce bacterial growth inside the filters. These systems helped provide cleaner drinking water in both industrialized and developing regions. Silver's ability to enhance hygiene and safety added value far beyond its historical role in currency. As the 21st century approached, the growth of digital technology accelerated. New industries emerged, each requiring materials with precise physical performance. Silver's conductivity made it integral to advanced electronics, telecommunications, aerospace systems, and specialized sensors. The rise of global data networks, computer servers, and high-speed communication platforms reinforced this demand. Modern infrastructure depends heavily on materials that can maintain stable performance under constant electrical load. One area where silver gained increasing attention was renewable energy. Solar panels, in particular, use silver in conductive paste that helps convert sunlight into electricity. As global interest in renewable energy expanded, the production of solar panels increased significantly. This created a new and important source of demand for silver. Engineers selected silver for these panels because its electrical properties support efficient energy transfer, which improves overall system performance. Although scientists continue exploring alternative materials for some applications, silver remains difficult to replace in key technologies due to its combination of conductivity, durability, and reliability. These properties help ensure consistent operation in systems that require precision and efficiency. As industrial uses expanded, researchers began studying how the supply and demand for silver evolved in the modern era. Mining companies track annual production, while analysts examine how much silver goes into electronics, solar panels, medical supplies, and other applications. This information helps industries plan for future manufacturing needs. Recycling also plays a role, though it can be challenging to recover silver from some modern products, because the metal is often used in very small quantities within complex components. The diversity of silver's industrial applications highlights how global economic progress depends on a wide range of natural resources. Each material has specific strengths that support different technologies. Silver has carved out a unique position because it bridges multiple sectors. It supports electrical engineering, manufacturing, medicine, energy, and consumer electronics all at once. This combination sets it apart from many other metals. As modern industries increased their use of silver, global markets adjusted. Trading exchanges developed, standardized contracts that allowed companies and investors to buy and sell silver in organized markets. These exchanges helped stabilize pricing and provided transparency for international trade. Businesses relied on these systems to plan production, manage costs, and coordinate supply chains. In addition to industrial demand, silver continued to attract interest from investors. Some individuals purchase silver coins or bars for collection or long-term storage. Others participate in financial markets through instruments that track silver prices. These investment patterns interact with industrial usage, shaping overall demand. Analysts study both factors when examining silver's position in global markets. Modern silver markets differ greatly from those in ancient times. Instead of relying solely on physical trade or coinage, international markets incorporate digital trading platforms, supply chain analytics, and advanced financial instruments. The global nature of modern industry means that silver mined in one region may be processed in another, manufactured into a product in a third region, and eventually sold to consumers somewhere else entirely. This interconnected supply chain reflects how deeply silver is embedded in today's technological world. Meanwhile, researchers explore new ways to use silver in advanced technologies. Scientists study its properties for potential applications in batteries, sensors, antennas, and medical diagnostics. As materials science develops, new uses for silver may continue to emerge. These innovations could deepen silver's role in supporting global infrastructure. Understanding these developments requires recognizing how dramatically the world has changed since the early civilizations that first used silver for trade. In ancient times, silver served as a foundational unit of value because it was durable, measurable, and widely recognized. In the modern world, silver serves a different but equally important purpose. It helps power devices, systems, and technologies that form the backbone of contemporary life. Another key element of silver's modern significance lies in how dependent certain industries are on its physical characteristics. Some materials can partially substitute for silver in specific applications, but often with reduced performance. For example, copper is widely used for electrical wiring because it is highly conductive, but silver remains more conductive than copper. In devices that require optimal efficiency or rapid response, manufacturers may choose silver over alternatives. This is especially true in high-precision components. Telecommunication systems rely on materials that can maintain consistent performance across millions of connections. Silver provides this reliability in small but crucial components. In aerospace engineering, materials must meet strict performance requirements under extreme conditions. Silver's stability and conductivity support these specialized needs. In medical technology, reliability and safety are essential. Silver appears in certain instruments and coatings that help maintain cleanliness. Because these applications involve public health and safety, performance standards are carefully regulated. The durability and antimicrobial characteristics of silver help meet these requirements. As the world becomes more digital and interconnected, the demand for electrical precision increases. Even as new technologies emerge, many continue to incorporate silver because it helps maintain the performance level expected by modern consumers and industries. This consistent role gives silver an enduring place in technological development. Global research institutions and industry groups maintain data on silver usage across different sectors. These datasets help companies and policymakers better understand how technological trends influence metal consumption. By studying these trends, industries can anticipate potential shifts in supply needs or manufacturing strategies. This type of analysis provides insight into how materials support economic growth and innovation. Silver's role in the modern world also highlights a broader theme that historians and economists often discuss. While the global economy no longer uses silver or gold as the basis for currency, natural resources still influence international trade and development. Materials like copper, lithium, cobalt, and silver support global industries, infrastructure, and innovation. Changes in supply, technology, or demand can affect economies in complex ways. Understanding silver's industrial journey offers insight into how societies adapt to new challenges. The metal that once served as a medium of exchange now serves as a conductor, a reflector, a purifier, and a medical tool. Its evolution reflects human creativity and the ability to repurpose natural resources for new goals. As modern industries continue to innovate, researchers will likely explore even more applications for silver. Advances in nanotechnology, computing, renewable energy, and communication may reveal additional uses. Each new development contributes to the broader history of silver's relationship with human progress. Today, silver sits at the intersection of history, industry, and technology. Its ancient role in commerce shaped civilizations. Its modern role supports devices that connect the world. Through each era, silver has remained part of the story of human development. Understanding this continuity helps illuminate how materials shape societies and how societies, in turn, shape the materials they depend on. Silver in the global economy today and what history teaches us. The modern world operates with financial systems that look very different from anything used by ancient or early industrial societies. Today's global economy is built on digital payments, central bank policies, international trade agreements, and complex supply chains. Yet, even within this advanced structure, materials like silver remain essential. While silver no longer serves as the backbone of currency systems, Its industrial and technological applications make it deeply interconnected with daily life. To understand its place today, it helps to examine how silver interacts with global markets, modern industries, and the lessons that history continues to offer. In the 21st century, silver exists in a hybrid role. It functions as an industrial material, an investment asset, a manufacturing resource, and a component in thousands of products. This complex identity marks a significant shift from earlier eras, where silver's primary role centered on monetary exchange. The modern view is multidimensional, shaped by technology, economics, and global networks. Industrial demand forms one of silver's largest uses. Electronics, solar energy, automobiles, medical equipment, and communication systems all depend on the metal's properties. Because silver is highly conductive, reflective, and durable, its applications span both everyday items and specialized technologies. Industries rely on these characteristics to maintain performance standards. As global populations grow and technology expands into new regions, the need for reliable materials reinforces silver's relevance. Another important component of the modern silver landscape is mining. Silver is mined in countries around the world as both a primary metal and the byproduct of other mining operations. Some mines focus specifically on silver, while others extract it alongside lead, zinc, copper, or gold. Mining companies analyze geological data, mineral deposits, and global prices to determine production levels. This production interacts with recycling programs that recover silver from discarded electronics, industrial materials, and other sources. Although recycling adds helpful supply, the process can be complex because modern products often contain small quantities of silver, dispersed across multiple components. Analysts frequently study supply and demand trends to understand how industries use silver. These studies consider mining output, technological development, recycling capacity, manufacturing growth, and changes in consumer behavior. For example, increased production of smartphones or solar panels affects silver usage in ways that differ from earlier decades. These patterns help businesses plan for material needs and help researchers understand how technology influences global resources. In addition to industrial demand, there is investment demand. Investors may purchase silver for various reasons, including collection, diversification, or long-term storage. Some people buy physical silver in the form of bars or coins. Others use financial instruments that track silver prices. These investment choices interact with industrial usage, creating a dynamic relationship between physical demand and market activity. Because both factors influence price movements, researchers often analyze them together. Silver also appears in international trade. Countries import and export silver based on their industrial needs and mining capacity. Because modern economies rely on interconnected supply chains, silver mined in one region may be refined in another and manufactured into a product somewhere else. This global flow reflects how closely integrated the world has become. It also highlights how dependent nations can be on stable trade routes, transportation systems, and geopolitical cooperation. While silver no longer anchors national currencies as it once did, it continues to hold symbolic and practical value. Some countries mint silver coins for collectors. Others use silver in artisanal crafts or cultural traditions. Jewelry, decorative items, and ceremonial objects all contribute to silver's cultural presence. This relationship combines economic utility with artistic expression, demonstrating that materials can preserve meaning across eras even as their primary functions change. When examining the broader picture, historians and economists often focus on the lessons that silver's long history provides. Over thousands of years, silver supported markets, enabled trade, stabilized economies, and influenced political power. The historical record shows that silver played a crucial role in the rise and fall of many civilizations. Each example, whether from Rome, China, Spain, or other regions, illustrates how monetary systems, resources, and political choices shape societies. In ancient Rome, the purity of the silver denarius supported trust in the currency. Over time, reductions in silver content contributed to inflation and economic pressure. Scholars often cite this as one factor that weakened Rome's stability. This example underscores a broader lesson about the importance of maintaining confidence in monetary systems. When trust declines, economies can face significant challenges. In Qing Dynasty China, silver supported tax collection and commerce. when silver outflows increased due to trade imbalances. The tax burden rose for ordinary people who relied on copper-based currency. This shift contributed to economic stress and social tension. The Chinese example shows how changes in resource flows can affect populations, especially when financial systems rely on specific materials. The Spanish Empire presents yet another lesson. Its access to abundant silver initially strengthened global trade and supported imperial expansion. However, historians note that economic over-reliance on silver imports eventually hindered domestic development. When silver production decreased, Spain struggled to maintain its economic structure. This example highlights the importance of balancing resource wealth with long-term economic productivity. These historical patterns demonstrate that materials can shape political and economic outcomes, but they also remind modern societies that resources must be managed thoughtfully. Although today's financial systems differ greatly from those of the past, the underlying principle remains that economic stability relies on trust, diversification, adaptability, and responsible decision-making. Modern analysts examine silver from many perspectives. Technologists study its physical properties for new applications. Economists study its market behavior. Historians examine its cultural and monetary legacy. Environmental researchers investigate sustainable mining and recycling methods to ensure responsible use of resources. This combination of perspectives provides a more complete understanding of how silver fits into contemporary life. Another important dimension involves future innovation. While silver is already widely used in electronics, renewable energy, and specialized technology, ongoing research may reveal additional uses. Scientists explore how silver can support developing fields such as nanotechnology, advanced computing, medical diagnostics, robotics, and communication infrastructure. As new devices and systems emerge, materials with high performance characteristics become increasingly valuable. Silver's versatility positions it as an important component in these fields. At the same time, silver's role in modern society also raises questions about sustainability. Mining requires significant resources, and recycling technology must advance to recover silver from complex products. Researchers continue to examine how to balance industrial needs with environmental considerations. Efforts to improve recovery methods, reduce waste, and promote responsible sourcing all contribute to long-term sustainability. These discussions reflect broader global themes about resource management, environmental stewardship, and technological progress. Because modern economies depend on a wide range of materials, understanding how each resource contributes to global stability is important. Silver is one piece of this larger system. Its historical role as currency demonstrates how societies value materials that can support trade and trust. Its modern role in technology shows how materials evolve alongside human innovation. Each stage of silver's journey offers insights into how societies manage change. Today, the conversation about silver includes historical analysis, technological study, environmental research, and economic evaluation. These areas intersect to create a detailed picture of the metal's importance. As industries grow and technology advances, the knowledge gained from silver's long history helps guide modern decisions. The past shows how monetary and resource systems interact with political and social structures. The present shows how silver continues to influence technology and industry. Together, these perspectives help explain why silver remains a topic of interest. In examining silver's role, one can see a consistent theme across civilizations. Materials matter. They shape economies, support innovation, influence culture, and help societies adapt to new challenges. Silver is one example among many, but its long and varied history makes it a valuable case study. Understanding this history helps illuminate broader discussions about how resources influence human development. The story of silver is ultimately a story of change. It is the story of a metal that once defined global trade and now supports global technology. It illustrates how societies evolve, how industries adapt, and how resources find new purpose as human needs change. Whether used as currency in ancient markets or as a conductor in modern electronics, silver reflects the continuous interaction between human creativity and natural materials. By understanding this journey, viewers gain a clearer sense of how the modern world came to be. They see how ancient choices shaped economic foundations, how industrial innovations expanded silver's role, and how today's technologies rely on materials that have served humanity for millennia. Each chapter in silver's story reveals something about the civilizations that used it, and the societies that continue to rely on it. In the end, silver remains part of a much larger global narrative. It is connected to science, economics, history, culture, and industry. Its uses continue to evolve as new ideas emerge. While its role in currency has changed, its contribution to modern life is undeniable. This makes silver not only a material of the past, but also a material of the present, and a subject of ongoing study for the future.